Deserts might appear barren, silent, and serene. They may come across as nothing more than endless miles of sand and stone, where nothing could possibly go wrong. But believe me, these vast landscapes conceal horrors that can chill you to your core. What I'm about to share isn't some campfire myth. It's a real story, one that shows how an ordinary trip into the desert can spiral into a nightmare you'll never shake. I've always been someone who thrives outdoors, an adventure seeker to the bone. I'm Michael, and I've lived most of my life in Arizona. For me, the desert isn't just scenery, it's part of who I am. I've hiked dozens of trails, camped in the most isolated spots, and always considered myself ready for anything. At least, that's what I believed, until that late September weekend. My best friend Alex and I had spent months organizing a backcountry photography trip. Our goal was to capture the raw, untouched essence of the Sonoran desert during that brief window when the light is just right. Those magical hours after dawn and before dusk. We planned a route that would take us far into a rarely explored section of the desert, completely off-grid. We brought top-tier gear, extra water, emergency kits, satellite comms. We thought we'd covered every angle. The first day unfolded perfectly. We trekked around 12 miles, capturing breathtaking shots. The morning sun casting golden light on the saguaros, the intricate lines in the desert rock, and those subtle earth tones that most never notice. It was all there. By late afternoon, we'd found the perfect campsite, nestled between rock formations that offered both cover and a gorgeous sunrise backdrop. That night felt normal. We shared some food, reviewed our shots, and talked photography. But the silence of the desert was unsettling, too complete. People don't realize how unnervingly quiet it can get out there. No insects, no breeze, just an absolute stifling stillness. Around midnight, Alex mentioned hearing something unusual, a distant sound, not quite animal. I shrugged it off. Out in the desert, your senses can deceive you. But the next morning, things felt different. Our mapped-out path no longer made sense. GPS landmarks didn't match what we were seeing. At first, we chalked it up to lighting changes. Maybe we were just disoriented. But something was off. Even the rock formations we'd photographed the day before looked subtly altered, like someone, or something, had rearranged them. By noon, we realized we were completely lost. Our compasses started acting up, spinning wildly. The satellite devices kept cutting out, one moment working, the next only static. We had enough supplies to last, but the growing unease was more dangerous than thirst or heat. That's when we stumbled upon the first clue. Half buried in the sand, nearly impossible to notice unless you were right on it. An old metal object. It wasn't new. It looked ancient, as if it had been left there decades ago, maybe longer. When Alex picked it up, I saw his hands trembling. Not from excitement, but from a raw, instinctive fear I'd never seen in him before. And that was just the beginning. We had no idea what we'd unleashed, but the nightmare that followed would push everything we thought we knew. About survival, about the desert, and about what's real, right to the edge.
Story 2. I'm not someone who normally buys into the supernatural. I'm a geologist. I work with solid facts, ancient rocks, and formations that have stood for millions of years. I'm Elena Rodriguez, and I've dedicated my career to researching desert terrain across the southwestern US. I've camped alone in some of the most remote areas more times than I can count. I take pride in staying calm, grounded, and logical, no matter the situation. This trip was supposed to be routine. I was gathering rock samples for a study focused on unusual formations in a secluded part of the Mojave Desert. Our team had pinpointed a location with strange mineral activity, and I volunteered to scout it out. Going solo wasn't new for me. I'd done it dozens of times. The first 2 days were exactly what I expected. I pitched my camp in a small valley encircled by rocky cliffs. I took notes, collected samples, documented everything with precision. The desert was as harsh as always, but predictable. I had all the essentials: GPS, satellite phone, emergency beacon, plenty of water, backup batteries, multiple comms. But the third night, that's when everything shifted. It began with odd noises. At first, I blamed the wind, or maybe local wildlife. But the sounds were too intentional, too rhythmic. It felt like something was creeping around my tent, staying just out of view. I don't believe in spirits or paranormal nonsense, but I know what I heard. That wasn't an animal, and it wasn't wind. It was movement with intent, circling my camp, always beyond the edge of my flashlight's reach. By midnight, I began hearing what resembled whispering. Not in any language I could recognize, but distinctly human-like sounds. They echoed from different directions at once, which should have been impossible given the terrain. I checked my Jeep. Everything read normal. My communication devices, fully operational. But the whispers continued. Then, the temperature dropped. Not slowly like during a typical desert night, but drastically. In mere minutes, the air turned freezing. I could see my breath in front of me, in the middle of the desert, at the end of summer. I scrambled for explanations, geological shifts, sudden weather drops, anything. But nothing made sense. The whispers grew louder, not clearer, but more intense. And then, I saw it. Something darting between the rock formations. It didn't move like any living creature should. It shifted, changed, like it wasn't entirely solid. That's when the logic I had built my life on started to collapse. Something was out there, and it was hunting me, getting closer.
Story 3. Some things you experience can't be explained. Some encounters scar you forever, deeper than any wound ever could. I'm David Ramirez, and what I went through in the Arizona desert isn't just a memory. It's a nightmare I relive every single day. I'm a long-haul trucker. My life is spent driving alone through endless highways. Most people think it's isolating, but I've always loved the silence, the road, the desert stretching for miles. It's been my world for over 15 years. I know these roads like the back of my hand, or so I thought. It was a routine run, a basic delivery from Phoenix to a remote depot near the Mexican border. I'd done it more times than I could count. Every gas station, every turn, I knew them all. But this time, dispatch rerouted me due to construction. Nothing out of the ordinary, the detour led me through a lesser-used desert road. Not unusual out here, countless roads look the same. 2 hours in, the first red flag appeared. My GPS began glitching. At first, minor flickers. Then the route vanished and reappeared. I didn't worry. I had a physical map, and I knew the area well enough. But then the radio started picking up strange signals, not just static, but voices, fragments of conversations, words that didn't sound human, languages I couldn't place. I checked my phone, no service. The truck's onboard system, dead silence. Then I noticed the landscape. Something wasn't right. Rock formations appeared to shift when I wasn't looking directly at them. Shadows moved in unnatural ways. I pulled over, thinking maybe I was just overtired. But I'd logged enough rest. I was fully alert. This wasn't sleep deprivation. Stepping out of the truck, I felt it. The silence. Not the usual desert quiet. This was something else, as if sound itself had vanished. No wind, no ambient noise, just a suffocating stillness pressing against me like a physical force. That's when I saw it. A figure. Not quite human. It was moving between the rocks. Too tall, too unnatural. Like something imitating human shape without fully understanding how a body works. I bolted back inside, locked the doors, fired up the engine. But when I checked the rear-view mirror, I realized I wasn't on the same road anymore. Something had followed me. Something was watching. The desert is good at keeping its secrets, but some things should stay hidden. As I record this, I can't stop wondering how many others have stories like mine. Stories of survival, of encounters that defy reason. The desert is vast, and it holds more than just heat and sand. These aren't just stories. These are real events, things that slip through the cracks between reality and the unknown. If you've experienced something similar, if you've lived through something unexplainable in the desert, I want to hear from you. Your story might be the next one we uncover. If you liked these real desert horror stories, you know what to do. Subscribe, hit that bell so you never miss a new tale. Share this with someone who's into real horror. And tell us in the comments, what's the creepiest desert story you've ever heard?